my protocol is really 2 weeks of restriction. And then you can add in all the other animals that are around. And then you can see if you can handle carbs. What are carbs? They're just stimulants. So if you can handle carbs are, if you go back into glycolysis, so then we have to talk about ketosis, right? Ketosis, I really believe that being in a state of ketosis is the best way to be. My mother had Alzheimer's. I don't want to have it. So I'm eating this way to ensure that I have no neurological issues. If I have an ice cream once every 2 weeks, that's not going to mean I'm going to have Alzheimer's. I'll be in ketosis, 8 hours later. So it's more, you talk about nuances. It's the nuance of how much you're going to eat of this stuff that, I don't eat only, I was just in Glasgow visiting we were babysitting my grandson for a month. We had a scone with butter and jam because we were in Glasgow. It's, we wanted to try it. So this is not like you have to do this all the time. But I don't have anything I'm trying to fix. Now, let's say lettuce has nothing in it. It's chlorophyll and water. It's not going to hurt you. There's so many plants that will hurt you if you're trying to heal. Why don't you get healed first? Try eliminating a lot of these things. So many people feel better eliminating most of it. And then if you get to where you want to be, I say add a suboptimum food every 4 days and see if it goes on your no list. So you can know, your immune system can tell you, this doesn't work for me right now.
You mentioned this 2-week period to start and then introducing potentially over time. What is included in that initial 2 weeks when the diet's at its most extreme? The 2-week period of total elimination.
Beef, lamb, butter, tallow, decaf.
That's it.
Water.
So no chicken. Like in that period of time, what I'm getting at is it to that extreme where
yes,
we just want to be having ruminant animals? You went over about 5 or 6 things there. Is that it? Or can we have pork during that time, chicken?
No, because the omega-6 content. So if you want to fix your immune system, here's a story from a doctor named Dr. Mackernis, a British doctor. There was this American doctor who put himself through school, Harvard Medical School. His father had an egg farm. So what did he eat? He wasn't a rich guy. Every day he ate eggs. But he also had a runny nose every single day of his life. So couldn't figure it out. Got to be in his 50s, successful doctor. 1 week he just stops eating eggs. His runny nose went away. Amazing. So he felt great. He'd never figured out why it happened, but he felt great. Then his wife makes him a cake. He doesn't know it has eggs in it. He has a slice of cake and he goes into shock. His immune system had been trying to tell him all his life the eggs are inflammatory. Probably the egg white, or the eggs were eating grain, right? So the omega-6 content floored him after he'd removed it for a certain amount of time. That's why those food sensitivity tests don't work, because you have to remove all these things for your immune system to be strong enough to loudly say, I see this as a pathogen.
So when he went into shock, his system was in a position of healing at that point where he was actually weakened before he became strong again?
Yeah.
And how would he have known when he could start introducing eggs?
I don't know. That's all the story goes. It didn't go any longer than that. It was Mackernis's explanation for what he called the Stone Age diet in the 50s.
So let's go over that short list again. Say I'm a new patient working with you. I want to go all out, 2 weeks, total elimination. What can I eat?
Lamb. You can eat any kind of beef. You can eat liver. You can eat short ribs. You can eat, I prefer actually you eat steak, because when you eat ground beef, the protein is slightly altered. So the blade that heats up the meat, when it's being ground, those protein molecules are slightly altered. Now I'm talking about people who are incredibly sensitive. So steak for 2 weeks, lamb chops, ribeye, whatever kind of steak, doesn't matter as long as it comes from a cow. Doesn't have to be grass-fed. And lots of fat. Doesn't have to be butter. It could be tallow.
Obviously, salt you're a big fan of, so it would be included at that time.
Salt. Lots of salt, yeah. And I recommend a half a teaspoon of salt in a glass of water if you've been eating carbs.
Iodine would be included too.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned decaf coffee as part of that short list the first time you went through it. Would you not want to eliminate that early on to eliminate that variable?
Some people can. Some people do, actually. Some people don't drink the decaf coffee. I just happen to drink decaf coffee. So it's not a requirement. So many people are going from caffeinated coffee or tea, which is abominable because of the fluoride content. So that's sort of making it easier for them. Some people just heat up the butter in hot water and they love it.
So after the 2 weeks, they've gone on this quote unquote extreme elimination. Has significant healing happened at that point already where they can begin to introduce? I'm just trying to understand the timeline for somebody that's metabolically unhealthy, overweight. It's been 2 weeks and obviously this is going to be a big shock for a lot of people's system because this is radically different than what they've been eating. But how much healing has happened already at that 2-week mark where they can begin to bring other foods in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're in America, so I don't think people evolved to eat the quantity and diversity of food that Americans eat, right? So most other societies are not eating the Pringles and all these other things that we've invented. So it's actually not that weird. In the 1940s, the food chart was a heck of a lot of fat, a heck of a lot of meat. It was all even. It was like a pie chart, right? It wasn't this. So it's really only modern society in certain areas, right, that would have a hard time. The healing that happens, the first thing is usually joint pain goes away. Inflammation is reduced. It's an anti-inflammatory diet. I don't think you're going to be you lose some weight, but you're not going to be losing all the weight that you want because there's going to be other components that need to heal that take a lot longer, which is adrenal and thyroid would take a lot longer. But you've removed the inflammation, allowing yourself to a step up on the healing process. And then you'll also be able to know which foods you were eating before very easily and very clearly are inflammatory to you, because not everybody has a problem with egg whites, and not everybody has a problem with egg yolk, and a lot of people don't have a problem with chicken, but they have a problem with chicken skin, strangely enough. So they'll know that.
We're all very different. Bottom line, we need to test and
yeah, exactly.
That's we all have different genetics, different toxicities, different life experiences, and underlying everything we're saying, we're trying to provide a general framework, but obviously everybody needs to incorporate the nuance of their own being.
Right, but we also evolved as human beings to eat a certain way.
Let's take the journey beyond the 2 weeks now. What foods could somebody start to introduce at that point? What would be the first ones that would be less likely to trigger the body in a negative way?
Egg yolk. I always say egg yolk because people miss creamy. So then they get to have their creamy. And then egg white, they try them together. If it works, they can make those, they can make things with egg whites. But they always let me know next time I see them. I ask, did you add that? Did you add that? This worked. This didn't work.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
A person who eats only plants cannot get cholesterol, therefore will not be able to adequately make, especially women, the hormones they need for their cycle, for adolescence, and to address stress. We evolved to eat this food. We evolved to eat